Good morning, Bumpingtonville. It may be 2 p.m., but hey, that's still morning in Bumpingtonville. I am your host, Mick Chickens, and I am honored to spend some time with all of you. So let's have a good time this morning, shall we?
So I'm sure that most of you caught last night's big hockey match between the Houston Oilers and the Carolina Panthers. And I have to say, I think the only thing I can say is wow. Just wow. Such a fun match. It was so much fun watching those guys just skate their little hearts out. I have to admit, though, that I couldn't stop thinking to myself that those guys must be really cold. It just drove me crazy that the coaches never even brought the boys any hot cocoa or even a coat or something. That said, it was still fun to watch. I can't remember who won. Of course, that doesn't even matter, really, as long as they all had a great time. And it's something I feel just a little embarrassed to admit, but if I'm honest, I didn't even realize that Houston was a part of Canada until last night. I guess it's like they say, you learn something new every day. But all in all, it was so much to watch with my cat bloopers. Also, we ordered Chinese, and of course, Chinese food is just perfect for hockey. Kind of like how mayonnaise is with chicken sandwiches. So I'm so excited for the next game because that was so much fun.
Lately, there has been a lot of talk about where El Grande Americano stands amongst the greatest luchadors of all time. At a time when the WWE has recently acquired AAA, it makes sense that this is something people are talking about. I'll be very clear, in my opinion. I don't think there is any question whatsoever that El Grande Americano is, in fact, the greatest luchador of all time. In my humble opinion, it isn't even close. The run that El Grande Americano has been on in recent months is absolutely historic. I don't think it is an exaggeration at all to say it rivals that of Roman Reigns' recent Bloodline run. Both were just incredible runs. And I hate to even bring this up, but I have to admit it bugs me, so I want to get something off my chest. All these loony conspiracy theories about Chad Gable being El Grande Americano is just totally ridiculous on its face. These are absolutely baseless claims that have absolutely zero evidence behind it all. I mean, where do these dangerous and problematic clowns even come from? I mean, these people that peddle these ridiculous and nonsensical conspiracy theories are becoming a real problem. Now, I'll just say that Chad Gable is an incredible wrestler and a great guy in his own right. In fact, I do believe that Chad and Americano are good friends. There's tons of mutual respect there, no doubt about it. But any suggestion that they are the same person is just crazy nonsense that should be shut down immediately. At the end of the day, though, yes, I do believe that El Grande Americano is the greatest luchador of all time without question. You know, there has been a lot of talk lately about whether or not Jon Jones is going to find that one dude. I can't remember what his name is, so he must really suck. So I don't really understand why anybody would want to see Jon Jones face some random no-name loser who has probably never even won a fight before. I personally think the real money is in what no doubt would be an absolutely legendary fight if it happened. I would love to see a Jon Jones versus Matt Hamill rematch. I mean, could you imagine how just unbelievably epic that would be? So I just think that instead of fighting some random scrub, Jon Jones should seal his legacy by beating an absolute beast like Matt Hamill. I think Jon would put up at least a little bit of a fight this time. I'll give Jon tons of respect because he has been a great champion for years. That said, he was absolutely demolished and just totally destroyed by Matt Hamill in that first fight. I mean, you want to talk about a one-sided beatdown? Well, like I said, Matt Hamill is an absolute beast. He's a monster. So there is probably nobody in Jon Jones' camp that wants anything to do with Matt Hamill, but my goodness, would that be exciting if it were to happen. So I'll just say to Dana White this. Please, Dana, give the world the fight everybody really wants to see. People have been dreaming of that rematch for years. It will probably be by far the most successful show the UFC has ever done. I mean, I get goosebumps just thinking about. Please, Dana White, make this happen.
So we need to talk about this new wrestling faction that should be debuting soon. I'm not sure if it will be on Raw or wherever exactly. It feels imminent, though. That faction is led by Shador Sanders, and it appears its members will be obviously Shador, but will also include some very dangerous people. These people are Marie Barone, Butterbean, Dylan Zinni from Loomis, and Ron Killings. Now, obviously, that is an extremely dangerous and deranged group of people that will be hell-bent on revenge. This is very concerning, folks. We could be in some very serious danger when this faction debuts. Life as we know it may never be the same again. I would certainly encourage everyone to be around your families and keep them very close. These are some scary times. I mean, can you even imagine eating Skittles at night? These freaking deranged psychopaths eat Skittles at night, for God's sakes. I mean, these are some very sick people, my friends. It's a scary time we are living in for sure. One of my favorite topics to discuss is actually the Mandela effect. And I bring that up now because I was talking to somebody that somehow believes that Ohio State won the national championship in football last year. Now, as ridiculous as that assertion is, you wouldn't believe the amount of people that somehow remember Ohio State winning last year when clearly they didn't. In fact, I was fortunate enough to be invited by the great Ninoy Biggles to her luxury suite for the national championship game. It was an incredible honor. Ninoy Biggles is a larger-than-life superstar, and I have to pinch myself to make sure it's actually real every time I am blessed enough to share space with Ninoy for any amount of time. It blows my mind. Anyway, on that night, it was an honor to see Purdue win their 38th consecutive national championship by handily defeating Tennessee 93-6. Yet people are constantly misremembering college football results. And it's the most bizarre thing. So many people that are unimaginably oblivious to the Purdue football dynasty that has lasted almost half a century at this point. Fortunately, here in Bumpingtonville, we see reality for what it actually is. Bumpingtonville is very proud of the unstoppable machine that is Purdue football, a machine that won't be stopped anytime soon, my friends.
Okay, so in what will serve as the closing segment for Good Morning Bumpingtonville every show, we give you a segment that we're going to call If We Can Be Serious for a Minute. So, if we could be serious for a minute. As we get closer to the end of the career of the legendary John Cena, we still don't know who John's final opponent will be. Now, most of us believe that John will probably drop the title to Cody Rhodes at some point. I think most of us also feel like the Unseen 17 will probably begin a face turn around that time. Surely a redemption story is in the cards for Cena. Nobody really believes that John will retire a villain. And if I was to guess, he will probably have long since made that turn by the time we get to his last match. So who should his final opponent? Now, I think in a perfect world where The Rock decides to be involved, it goes a little something like this. So John Cena loses the title to Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam, but after the match, he surprisingly hands Cody the belt and raises his hand. Now, whether it happens there or the next night on Raw, The Rock comes out and is not very happy, to say the least. He is obviously upset that Cody is champ again, but even more upset that John Cena chose to raise his hand instead of kicking you-know-where like he did at Elimination Chamber. Now, obviously, that sets the table right there. Then, between SummerSlam and Survivor Series, we slowly start building tension between The Rock and Triple H. This eventually leads to a traditional Survivor Series match for control of the company between Triple H's team and The Rock's team. Meanwhile, we are slowly building the redemption story of John Cena with Cody, Ron Killings, and several others having roles to play as well. Now, when it comes time to name captains for Survivor Series, things get interesting. You see, while tension exists, The Rock still assumes that John Cena will be his captain. Triple H will ask Cody Rhodes to be his captain. In a surprising twist, though, Cody tells Triple H he has to think about it. Obviously, this would be confusing to Hunter and many others. A week later, I would have Cody say that the reason he wanted to think about it is because he thinks he has a better idea than him as captain. And of course, you know where I'm going here. So Cody calls out John Cena and asks him to be the team captain for Hunter's team. He asks him to be the real John Cena and to not ruin wrestling, but instead to save wrestling. Now, of course, John would ultimately accept, completing the face turn. So how does The Rock respond? Well, the final boss returns and talks about how John Cena let him down and is not the man he thought he was. But since he doesn't have a captain for his team at Survivor Series, there was only one thing he could do. That would be to name himself as the captain. The final boss will be competing at Survivor Series.
I am approaching the rest of this with the idea, and of course this is all, every bit of it, very hypothetical. This all requires Rock to be super involved, so it's certainly wishful thinking, but hopefully the idea, though, would be that next year's WrestleMania main event would be Cody Rhodes versus the final boss, The Rock. So with that in mind, here is what I would do at Survivor Series. I would have it come down to The Rock on one side and both Cody and Cena on the other. I would have The Rock give the rock bottom to Cody Rhodes and pin him right in the middle of the ring. Now remember, this story should eventually play out with Rock and Cody at Mania, and of course I would have Cody win that for sure, so Cody will be fine in the long run. But The Rock does pin Cody here, however. Of course, then it comes down to The Rock and John Cena. I would have them go for a few more minutes at this point. What I would do for the finish would be to have The Rock about to cheat, use a steel chair or whatever. Then Cody comes back and stops Rock from doing it. Rock is distracted and yelling at Cody or whatever, then turns around and John Cena is there to hit him with an attitude adjustment and pins The Rock, winning control of the WWE for Triple H, and of course, saving wrestling. You then would have the big celebration in the ring, which would put the exclamation mark on John Cena's redemption, and he is once again the hero. Now, as for his final match. Okay, so what could possibly be better than this? So how about John Cena's last match ever is against the final boss, The Rock? That's right, John Cena versus The Rock. But what would be more perfect than to have that match on Saturday night's main event in December? I mean, think about it. Saturday night's main event, the GOAT, John Cena's last match. And it's against The Rock, for goodness sakes. You might actually be able to do a number on that show that would come close to the Hogan versus Andre rematch they did all those years ago. Now, that was a gigantic rating they got for that, but if anything could touch it, maybe this could. Anyway, that is my idea for Cena's last match. John Cena as the hero against The Rock as the villain on Saturday night's main event. I get goosebumps thinking about it.